Okay, hello. Welcome back to another video. Hopefully we are live. And welcome back to another plot. I am joined by my fabulous co-hosts, Charlie and Alice, who I'm sure you are all familiar with by this time. But you're probably even more familiar with the BookTube royalty that we have down below. The fabulous Simon and Louise Savage. Oh, I have a banner for this. Hang on.
Crowns and everything.
Oh, it's only my mother that's royalty. I don't even claim that crown.
Oh dear. So we are super excited because, as I'm sure most people are aware, Simon and Louise are big fans of the Women's Prize, and I think it was actually Simon that got me into it back in the day, before I was even a booktuber, when I was just a normal run-of-the-mill reader back in those days. So yes, there will be lots to talk about. We have lots of people saying hello in the comments, so we'll just do a quick hello. We've got Chris and Jack and Kate and Jen and Laura and Martha. Oh, that's me. Hello, Julie, Cindy, Ariane, Dorota, and Charlie. So thank you all. Lots of faces in the comments. Let's start by welcoming Simon and Louise. So, guys, as a sort of icebreaker question, we wanted to ask both of you to talk about a book that you read recently that was amazing by a female author. Louise, do you want to go first?
I can. So I haven't, unfortunately, I'm not at home at the moment, so I haven't got books with me. But obviously, I've just finished the non-fiction long list, but I'm not going to talk about any of those because I think the focus more today is fiction. And I read a book that I picked up in a charity shop called The Incarnations by Susan Barker. And it just absolutely blew me away because it's about a taxi driver in Beijing who gets these notes in his taxi, and he's obviously had a previous life. Have any of you read it?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's extraordinary. Simon has, but I didn't know at the time.
It's a slight bone of contention in the fact that that's a book that I gave lots of money and with the prize that I judged that Mum seems to have forgotten existed. It's quite rude.
Anyway, we've had it out. We've had that. But I suppose what's really affirming is the fact that I thought it was absolutely fantastic because it looks at lots of different periods in Chinese history. It's like time travel, but you're traveling with these amazing characters. So that basically this taxi driver has had lots of different incarnations. But there's also lots of mystery and lots of twists, and it's a mind-blowing book because it's so you don't know how somebody could sit down and actually plot that and work it all out so that it all kind of intersects. And his contemporary life's really interesting as well because he's married with a child, and the child is a little bit strange, and he's got an interesting relationship with his stepmother, and there's just I've ended up with this real cast of characters in my head, and I found it really thought-provoking. So that would be my recommendation. Do you know, Simon, whether she's written anything else?
She's got a new book coming out, I think, later this year, beginning of next year, and it's a horror novel.
Oh.
So she's definitely one to. I think she might have had a previous novel as well, or a couple maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious I'd want to read more. And I can see she might write horror because there are a couple of really, really violent scenes in that book.
Don't start talking about that, Louise. Not in public. We've talked about that. And it's quite graphic.
It is. Yeah, it's graphic. And if you're squeamish, you would want to skip it.
Although that said, as you're not on your channel, you may well do it because any time at the moment that Mum's on my channel, she seems to say something racy.
We're fine with racy.
Go for it here.
I'm not. That's my mother.
Best behaviour.
You're outnumbered today, Simon. So racy all the way. Is it quite long, Louise? Because it sounds like a book that would need to be quite chunky to sort of.
It is quite chunky, but it's great font. So you but I mean, I just honestly read it so quickly because I couldn't put it down. So it was like, you know, when you read a bestseller and you really sort of charge motor through it.
Yeah.
I had that experience of reading it. It didn't sort of, so it didn't feel like a long book.
That's magical, that is.
Yeah. I thought it was really special. And I felt a real idiot when Simon told me the back. That's new, so.
Oh dear. Simon, do you have a recent fave?
I'm going to cheat and say 2 because
of course you are.
Equal as like the best books by women that I've read this year. And the first one is Stoneyard Devotional. I brought my own with me. Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood, who I love and is one of my, definitely becoming one of my favourite writers. She's Australian. I thought this might be on the long list this year. I was really hoping it was. It's about a woman who, after the loss of her parents, she goes to stay in this nunnery, and it's how she interacts with these nuns, how they are with her. Some of them are quite snarky. Some of them are quite, there's one particular one that's quite forward thinking. There's also a lot about mice in here. I'm not going to say too much more because I know Mum hasn't read it, but I just think she's an incredible writer. And then the other one is Clear by Caris Davies, which I think is a near perfect novella. And she's another one of my absolute favourite. And actually, the year that the prize that I judged where we gave Susan Barker the money, Caris Davies was one of the other winners. And her short story is amazing. And Sarah Jessica Parker really likes her. So what more can you say?
Because I think I saw both of those predicted to be on the Women's Prize. I don't know whether it was by you or by other people, but I definitely saw both of those come up.
Stoneyard Devotional especially, I think I saw on quite a few people's predictions, I think.
Yeah, this one I think is too short, possibly, because there's like a 30,000 word limit or something.
Something
Not
like
that I've counted every word in here while I was reading it.
Education.
Yeah, and I know that Mum's a big fan of both those authors, so yeah. Got some treats ahead if you've not read them yet, Mum.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
I read The Weekend by Charlotte Wood, and I thought it was brilliant. That was a brilliant book.
That's amazing. And then the other one is The Natural Way of Things, which she just wrote with rage. That's the only way that she can describe it.
Supernatural? Because someone said it's different. It's very different from The Weekend, people said to me.
Not supernatural, more dystopic. So if you like a dystopic novel, then that's the one for you.
Sounds like for me.
Okay.
They were my.
Let's move. Oh, sorry, Simon.
No, I was just saying they were my 2 cheats. Not 1, 2.
We've had several people saying 2, so you're completely allowed to. That's fine.
We'll allow it. So more onto the meaty stuff. The thing that I think most people are going to want to know is how you're both getting on with the long lists. Obviously, we know that Louise, you've smashed through the non-fiction like some sort of champion reader.
I don't know if you know everyone, but Mum is retired.
Sorry?
I don't know if everyone knows, but Mum is retired now. So that's the reason. She only mentions it every so often.
It's a family joke. I've mentioned it sort of, every 5 minutes for, I don't know, since Christmas.
To be fair, I would. If I was retired, I would mention it.
So, I love my job. That's the irony. But I'm also enjoying having all this time to read. So that's how I managed to do it. If I'd still been working, there's no way I would have done it. But once I'd started, I kind of felt I had to give each book equal treatment. And what I wasn't expecting was to enjoy them all so much. I genuinely enjoyed every single book on that list. Some of them more than others, as you would expect. But there wasn't a single one that felt like a chore, which shocked me, actually. And I'm really looking forward, because I've only just started reading the fiction long list, and I don't know whether I'll manage to read all of them because, I haven't got as much time, although thankfully they're shorter, aren't they? Most of them are quite short. But so I'm interested to see how the kind of consistency and quality compares with the non-fiction. So that's my, as I'm reading the long list for fiction, that's what I'm going to be thinking about is whether they consistently sort of, I would say all those long listed books hit the bar. And I don't know yet about the fiction. So there's a question for you, really, all of you.
Mum, can you spill some beans though? Because I noticed that you didn't say something you were thinking about saying the other day in your video that you thought was mildly controversial. I'm just throwing you right under the book.
You want to know now.
Well, because it's simply that I actually, and Simon, you sort of corrected me on this a bit, but I did feel like when I actually sat back and reflected on it after I'd finished it, I actually found the consistent high quality, or let me express this correctly. When I've read the fiction long list now for quite a few years, and I don't think I've read a single fiction long list where I felt the same, that every single book for me met the standard. So that's why I'm looking forward to reading this long list this year if I get to them all, because I'm curious to see whether that's the case.
It is interesting though, because like we've had this thing where we like I looked up. I know that the Goodreads ratings don't really mean anything, and I'm fully aware of that. But when you look at the Goodreads ratings for the non-fiction and versus the Goodreads ratings for the fiction, the non-fiction is always higher. It is. It's been from the lists that we've seen, the non-fiction list rates higher as an overall than the fiction. So people do seem to rate non-fiction higher, seemingly.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? You see that? Yeah, that's interesting because it does bear out what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, fascinating. Oh, thanks for that. I wasn't aware of that.
Only because I'm a nerd and when I wrote the long list down for both, I wrote down the Goodreads ratings for both.
Yeah.
Simon, what are your thoughts then?
So I didn't read any of the non-fiction long list, but I was very excited about it. And I think when we opened the box together, both of us got quite giddy about the sort of breadth and diversity and the fact that there were just so many amazing sounding books. I don't know if we're going to talk about the shortlist later, but I have not different thoughts, but I do have thoughts on the shortlist. But I think, yeah, there were certain ones that instantly sang out to me, and I really want to read A Flat Place. I really want to read the Sophia memoir, the name How to Say Babylon.
Yeah.
I really want to read that one. I'm very intrigued in the memoir about is it The Bag? That sounds quite interesting.
All that she carried, is it?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by it. The other three are a little bit more nervous. Like I think Doppelganger's going to be too clever for me, and that'll just make me feel inferior and annoyed. So that could be quite an interesting relationship that I have with Name Climb. But I am going to read all of the shortlist. And then the fiction long list, I feel like this year it's had a bit of a bashing. And I'm like, until everyone's read it, don't bash it, because you know what I mean? I think there's a bit of, I have a weird thing. I was thinking about this today randomly. I've got a weird thing about the long list because on the one hand, I love it because it's a list of amazing books by women and that should be celebrated. But I do sometimes worry with long lists of prizes, and especially because there's so many prizes at the moment, like right now, it almost becomes a little bit either people want to bash them or they just want to read them as fast as they can to beat everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I will admit I am only about 4.5 through the long list at the moment, and to me to say only is actually a bit sad because like I should just be reading them at whatever pace I want. But from what I've read, the standard is higher than I was expecting from what the general consensus of the long list was this year. I think people are either in two camps. They either really cross that the big names weren't on it, or they're almost like delighted that the big names were on it. And I can be in both camps on different days of the week. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. But I've read one of the long list at the moment, and it's easily going to be one of my favourite books of the year by a country mile.
Can you tell us which one?
Share.
Got it here. Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan. I think this is like, oh.
I've read that one.
That's fantastic.
We got the memo. But yeah, this I think is utterly like amazing, and what she does in the space of that amount of pages, and it's quite tricky because me and Mum have not spoken about. Well, I've watched how Mum's felt about the long list for the non-fiction, but we haven't really talked about the books this year, and that's been really different. I mean, we don't normally anyway until shortlist stage, but like this year, it's been all the more like, oh, we're not having the chats that we used to have. No, it's fine. It's fine. We need some time apart.
It just feel a little bit like a divorce.
Oh no!
Oh, Mum! I've already been through one of those. I don't want to do that again. At least it's a divorce, not a bereavement.
Yes. This is getting dark.
This is coming off track.
Sorry. Yeah, this I think is utterly incredible, and what she manages to do, I think, is one of the criteria is what accessibility, originality, and excellence. Originality is really hard because there's not a lot new under the sun, but this feels, even though familiar, it feels very original all at once. So yeah, I think this is amazing.
Oh, I can't wait to read it now. I'm so pleased I'll get it out of the library.
I want to say how Mum's getting on with it.
Yeah, I started it this morning and I'm halfway through it.
Oh, already?
I couldn't put it down. So,
but it's not a crime novel. It's being slightly sold as a crime novel, and I think if you go into it thinking it's going to be a crime novel, you might be slightly disappointed. Although there is a crime at the heart.
I'm really loving the fact that it's focusing on journalism.
Yes,
one of the key characters is a journalist for a paper like The Sun, and
or any other scumbaggy paper.
Exactly, yeah. So and I think his character is incredible. Like, I really believe this character,
and he's awful. He's so awful.
Yeah, and so it's really exploring the way that the media manipulate us, and also the victims of hideous events. So I think it's quite an important book as well from that point of view. Yeah,
and also it's very much about how the upper classes feel about the working classes, which I think is really interesting too. There's so much in what is a very slight book. I'm quite glad that, though, because it means I can actually try and catch up.
Well, I think I'm the same with you at the moment. I'm 4.5 plus a DNF. So,
oh, see, I had almost DNF'd, but then I met a lovely man at the cafe in Foyles called Joseph, who I asked him what he was reading, and he said he'd just finished it and that I should carry on. So, and it was that one. So I will carry on.
My sister loves that one. My sister's just finished that one, and I think she's just finished it, and she said she loved it. I think that's right.
I've heard the second half is amazing, but you need to, I think, maybe get through the first half.
Can I ask
that about Hangman as well?
I want to know which one Jem DNF'd.
Like DNF'd the Big Blue Beautiful World, or whatever it's called. The Blue Beautiful, the sci-fi one. Right. Which is a shame because I love sci-fi, but it didn't work for me.
That's really interesting, because I thought you were going to say you weren't into sci-fi and that's why it didn't work. So, okay.
I found that with the Booker last year as well, because In Ascension was on the list and I DNF that as well. I think I like hardcore aliens and like spaceships. Right. Sci-fi, and when it's literary sci-fi, there's less of that. So I'm always disappointed if there's not an alien or a spaceship. We've got a question from Chris here. Do the panelists think prize fatigue has set in a bit, as completionists had 32 books to read? I have now read 22 and feel as though I need a vacation or therapy. So that sort of goes back to what you were saying, Simon. It's a lot of books because they've overlapped them, right? So 32 books. I don't know how many people are actually going to try and do all 32 before the winner.
I can't point at Mum, but
you have to do it the other way.
That way. No, that way.
Yeah.
Higher, lower.
That one.
Do you feel a bit burnt out, Louise?
No, I don't, but again, I think that's just because I've got more time than I've ever had. But I think, and I think it's really difficult because from a pragmatic point of view, I can see that the logistics of the whole thing is a nightmare for the organisers. But I think for committed readers, there isn't enough distance between the long list and short list of both prizes. That's the problem. And I can understand that they're aiming towards holding the event at the same point in the year. I get that. But I think it's in a way because they've got to define what that 12 months is going to be, haven't they? And they've defined the same 12 months for both shortlists and long lists. And I think that's a shame. I think if they could somehow do that differently, it would avoid that kind of fatigue. That's my view.
No, I think I'm on a similar wavelength to you, Mum, in the fact that I feel like it's really hard to shout about 32 books within the space of under 6 months. That feels, and I mean, I've said this anyway, you know, I love the prize and I'm thrilled and delighted, and well, I'm amazed that they all manage to do what they do with the team. Like, they have quite a small team and they do an amazing amount of stuff. So I also get that it's time-wise, that's really helpful. But I think for readers, it's probably a little bit tricky, especially actually, and I think it was Sarah of Your True Shelf, who I adore, who was on your last one. And I think, was it Sarah that said something about, like, for the average reader, you only maybe read one book a month. So actually that's even harder. And I love what she said about long list not being designed for Bookstagram or BookTube, or like that is exactly not, we're not really the audience they're wanting to reach. Maybe us and then through us, but also around us. And I think the fact they're sort of tiering the shortlist, I think, is a good idea, because actually, realistically, I think people probably read more shortlist than long lists, I would say, unless they're insane, like me and Mum.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, like, next year, oh, maybe I should just do the shortlist, but then a bit of it was like, no, I can't imagine that. But I think it is really, like, that's a lot of books to share about, especially, but also in terms of the time of year when you've got the International Booker, you've got the Gelac Prize, you've got the what is it, the David Llewellyn Prize, Carol Shields. You've got so many prizes all at this time of year. I think that's where maybe in the future, like, it would be better to spread it out a bit, and even maybe have one that starts in the winter and gets the short gets announced at the beginning of the new year or something. But then that's what the Neros do. So there's a lot of prizes, and also you're never going to please everybody.
That's going to happen anyway. People are going to be annoyed whatever you do.
Yeah, a little bit more spacing would be nice, though, just because it is really only the Nero that runs over that Christmas period, isn't it? I don't think any other prizes really run.
And it did feel like a prize list every day in March.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
But I also think that adds to people kind of wanting to read them all so quickly, because there's so many different prizes to read from, and you want to. It's a bit like, I guess, a pick and mix where you want to kind of dabble from something from all of them. But yeah, I think it is. I think it could be spaced out more, and also I just think having that space between the shortlist is great, but maybe between long list and shortlist could be good as well. But you know, they do an amazing thing with, like, you know, a limited amount of resource. So, you know, it's a charity, and that's a hard position to be in. So I think what they're doing is amazing. So I don't want to sound like I'm slagging them off, because I'm not. But if I was, you'd all know. No.
It's interesting what you said about just reading the shortlist, though, because I feel like so many years now I've read the majority of the long list, and actually quite often my favourites are not shortlisted. They're long listed but not shortlisted. So if we look at non-fiction this year, I've given 2 5 stars, and neither of those were shortlisted. So Intervals and Matrescence, which I thought were excellent. And then A Flat Place I did not think was excellent, and that was on the list. So not that I'm salty.
We love a salty gem.
But yeah. So but it's different horses for different courses, isn't it? Different people like different things, but I'm generally the one that's going to like the long listed books over the short listed books.
I guess it's just looking at the blurbs. People should just do, like, we all. This is why I love like the Plodalong as well, because like we all get to talk to each other, and like we all like to say different people with different tastes are all telling us which books they're loving, and it's just use your gut and head to the books that you love the most, that sound just to try them.
And then we all give each other FOMO as well. This one was really good. Read it.
Exactly.
Even though there's go on. Okay.
No, go on, Charlie. I was
just saying, even though there's 32 books been listed, to me, it's actually made me slow down rather than speed up, because I feel like I'm savouring it more and enjoying it more this year. Whereas normally when there's 16, I'm like, oh, I've got to get through, Whereas this time I'm like, no, I'm going to pick from this one. Oh, no, I'm going to pick one from the non-fiction.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. It's also different. Like, I feel like I want the non-fiction to have had a bit more air to breathe as well.
Yeah.
None of the long list got announced. It's the first time it's ever happened, and then suddenly it's like, oh, hang on, no, the fiction's here, and like the fiction's got such a following, that's quite hard for it to compete with.
I would have really liked maybe an extra month with the long list of the non-fiction, because I was just so excited about it and enjoying it so much. But I say that, and I've completed like 2 books because I like to take them slowly. So it's yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Just going to look at a couple of comments. We've got some love for Clear here from Martha, who read it in January. Brian is not late today. Well done, Brian. Gold star for you. Jack reminding everyone to boot the like button. Thanks, Jack. Ariane noticed the rating difference for non-fiction, which I do think is really interesting. I didn't know that, Charlie. Have you told me that before? I don't.
Yeah, I did, because you guys normally took the mick out of me for writing all the Goodreads ratings down.
I can imagine doing that. Yeah.
Do you wonder if it's because we pick up non-fiction in more of a selective way?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you would naturally pick up a non-fiction that you feel sure you're going to like already. Well, you're much more likely to than with a fiction, for me.
Yeah, I feel like, and you know, I'm a lot older than all of you, but I feel as though
you're not that much older than me, Louise.
Steady on.
That's why people always think you're my sister.
I feel as though as I was growing up, that non-fiction was much more defined as a male preserve. You know, that it was that boys or men read non-fiction. You know, fiction to me was seen as a more female thing, and I think I was probably naturally pushed. Well, not naturally. That's actually the opposite of that. I think I was pushed towards fiction more. And I think I've always sort of said to myself that I don't like nonfiction as much. But I think that's wrong, because I know over the years when I have read nonfiction, I've really enjoyed it more often than not. So I think for me, that's one of the reasons why I got so excited about the prize, because it's kind of, it's redressing that balance. And I would say, you know, my years of experience as a teacher of English as well, you know, doing library lessons and things like that, the boys were often pushed towards the non-fiction shelves. And we were trying to sort of work against that. So I wonder if that's because there are 4 females here and 1 male, you know, whether there is, whether we are a bit more skewed to thinking that fiction's easier, or thinking that we're going to engage with fiction better. I don't know. You know, this is just anecdotal, and I'd be interested to see what you think, because I could be totally wrong about it. But I think that's got something to do with it, that I wouldn't naturally gravitate towards non-fiction in the way that I do towards the fiction shelves.
100%. It surprised us, I think. All 3 of us, it surprised us at the long list, the non-fiction.
Yeah. I think I was excited for it because I wanted to be pushed to read more non-fiction. And there's definitely a lot of genres of non-fiction in that list that I'm excited to get to, that I never would have picked up in a million years if they hadn't have been highlighted.
Do you all feel, though, that like I'm more prepared to take a risk on a novel than I am a non-fiction book? Like I'm
100%.
Whereas if it's a non-fiction, I really sort of agonize over picking one a little bit more, which is maybe why I don't spend I'm like, oh, it's going to be like a textbook, or I really need it to be X, Y, Z. And I think that's where it's so exciting to have the new non-fiction prize, because it's a guide, and that's amazing. So like, I really hope that even though the shortlist is now out, people still hit the long list, because there's so few guides of like, especially non-fiction by women, that's where I think maybe it will stand out, and the long list will have the longevity, even though the timeline's a little bit shorter. Mum's furious they've not had it on Woman's Hour.
I am. I'm absolutely. I mean, I'm going to stop watching it if I don't mention it soon. I'm watching it. And I've listened to Woman's Hour for 40 odd years. I think there might be as well. I don't know. Again, I don't know whether this is psychological, but I wonder if there's an economic element here, because I always think of non-fiction as being more expensive.
Yeah. It definitely is.
That's also why you take a little longer to make a decision to buy it, because it costs more very often.
Investment.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Hardbacks are 25 quid now.
Yeah.
I think it's like,
Anyway, sorry.
No, I think it's good discussion. I mean, I think the other thing is, I don't know if this is true, because I didn't read too much non-fiction in my youth, but I do think the style of non-fiction has evolved over the last 20 years, and I think authors are now writing non-fiction to be more accessible, whereas back in the day they wrote it to show how smart they were, and like the less accessible it was, the better. It kind of felt a bit like that. So I think there's been a change in author intent with non-fiction as well, which is interesting.
Rather than just the expert voice, you mean? It'd be interesting to go back and read some non-fiction from sort of 20, 30 years ago to put that to the test, really.
I wonder how many women writers there are from that time, though. That would be interesting.
I think I've only got Anne Frank in the bank, really, from that time period. So she wasn't really writing for an audience at the time, was she? So, and just saying the long list has helped her out of a major reading slump. I definitely think this is one of the more accessible long lists that we've seen in a while. It's I really love this long list. It's definitely a Gemma-y long list, not so much a Charlie and an Alice long list, I don't think. But I think there is something for everyone on this list, and I think there's books that will appeal to people who read one book a year or 100 books a year, for sure.
I found a 5-star read from it, so I'm happy. Actually, maybe 2 even. The fiction.
What are they? Tell us what they are.
Brotherless Night was amazing. That's my favourite. And then, obviously, Soldier Sailor.
Yes. Soldier Sailor for the win. Soldier Sailor for the win.
No, I'd say Brotherless Night for the win, but I do like Soldier Sailor.
Teresa read Ordinary Human Failures in one sitting. So another fan. Almost DNF Nightbloom. That's interesting. I haven't got to that one yet. While I'm having a little look through some of the comments, I'm going to ask you our next question.
Oh, I know
this one. There's some skin in the game with this one, so we could fall out over the answer to this.
Get Gemma judgy faces.
Get ready. I have very judgy faces over the answers.
You're only likely to fall out with Gemma though, because it's Gemma.
Me and Alice are just like.
Like, okay then.
So, Simon, we'll go to you first. What is your favourite ice cream flavour?
Oh, that's really difficult.
No.
Mum will know. I mean, we did this together when me and Mum went to Sorrento one year when I would have been about 10 or 11. There's this ice cream parlour called David's, which has like 30 plus flavours of ice cream. So we'd have like 3 a day each, like 3 scoops a day, so that we could try the whole shop in 1 week. And we've been away recently, and it happens every time. I will say I've discovered a new one. Now, this could be controversial.
We're here for it.
It's Haagen-Dazs, and they mix macaroons in it, and they have a blueberry macaroon and vanilla ice cream, and it is like next level.
That
sounds amazing.
That sounds really
You
nice.
win. You are the winner of the ice cream question.
Well, hang on. I've got to do the roll the other way. I can't do this. Let Louise.
Okay, Louise, can you top macaroon ice cream?
I can't, because I quite like. I mean, I don't think you can beat a really good vanilla ice cream, and I'm actually, I have to confess, a real fan of Mr. Whippy. I like a nice
Mr. Whippy.
If I was dressed, if I was dolled up and sophisticated, if it was one of those days, which doesn't
don't have to be though.
It would be almond. I really like a almond ice cream. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, hazelnut ice cream is good, and a praline.
Ooh,
No,
praline.
pistachio. Sorry,
pistachio is a top level answer, Simon. Just so you know,
before we started, that was like a top tier answer. You popped it with the macaroon. So that wasn't even on our radar.
On my Instagram stories when I next get it, so that if anyone needs to know what it is, you can see it. It's you can't miss it. It's in a very purple pot, and I promise I've not been sponsored, or it's not hashtag ad.
You should write an email after this asking for some sponsorship. Oh dear, no, they were good answers.
It was annoying, isn't it?
The Mr. Whippy, is that with or without a flake?
Again, it depends on how I'm feeling. If it's really hot, I don't really want a flake. If it's like a little bit of cloudy, the flake might go in there just for a bit of extra comfort, because it's not a nice hot smoothie like it should be.
What about strawberry sauce?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Louise.
You guys are bringing out the best in her. We don't like it.
You were doing so well, and then you were like, "I'd drop the flake on a hot day," and I was like, "No, absolutely."
I'm shocked. I've known you for 42 years, and I didn't know about the flake question mark.
Did you not? Well, you do now. You haven't been paying attention.
Oh dear. Charlie is asking if we think it would help if some prizes went biennial. I think I'd just miss them.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We want them. We want as many.
I need the regular excitement.
I think for the authors as well, you wouldn't be highlighting as many authors, would you?
But you do, because I've judged the Portico, and in fact I chaired the Portico, and it was almost chairing a prize is, I think, the most stressful thing I've ever done. I had to, we had a 5-hour final meeting, and I think I went to the toilet every 20 minutes because I was so stressed. And at the end, I was like, "Oh, you will decide. I can't be dealing with this." That you actually get more submissions because you have to cover that 2-year time period, and that made the reading quite intense, but also felt a bit, sometimes I would say, unfair, because a book might have only been out for 3 months, another one might have been out for a year. So, but that said, I mean, if the Women's Prize suddenly said, because it is their 30th anniversary next year, oh, we're going alternate years, I'd be devastated.
Yeah,
I would as well.
I mean, I don't think that's acceptable for the Women's Prize, but some of the more boring prizes, like the Booker, could go every other year, couldn't they?
You can't say that, Dem.
The Booker's an interesting beast. That's not for now.
Yeah, okay.
Although I think this year I'm really hopeful with the Booker, because they've got one of my friends, Sarah Collins, on the judging panel, and she's like, her taste is banging. So I'm really, really hopeful that, I know she's one of 5, and no pressure, sorry if you ever see this, but I just feel like she'll push some really, really corking, unexpected books.
No,
I don't want loads of good books, because I want to not read the Booker this year.
Every year I say I'm not going to read the Booker, and every year I get disappointed by the Booker.
We get drawn into it.
Oh
dear. Kelly's saying that she prefers seeing a long and short list, unlike the Pulitzer, where it's just a whoop, this is the winner. And I would agree with that.
Yeah, no one wants that. You want a little bit of a tease.
Yeah.
Indeed. Jack is 30th in line for ordinary human failings on Libby.
Poor love.
Obviously a popular.
Oh, Jack, I think I might have a spare one.
Rub it in.
I can sort you out.
I'm just trying to have a quick look through.
Is that in paperback now, though? I should say. So
there you
that'll
go.
make maybe things a bit easier.
One of the older ones on the list, then.
Well, it's
Don't
weird
think-
because quite a lot of them are out in paperback the day after the short list is announced, which is mad.
Oh, that's really annoying.
And also, some of them kept their hardback covers.
Yeah. I like the cover of the 8 Lives one. The 8 Lives one, the paperback one for that looks really good.
Mm.
Wow.
It's quite gold and beige, isn't it? It looks quite
And kind of flowery.
yeah.
Yeah. I've just started that one. It's got a strong start. It has real 5-star potential, I think.
And people have described it as heartbreaking, which obviously is gem catnip. So
Of heartbreaking books. Emotionally destroy me, please. Brian is saying non-fiction writers like to feel like they like know-it-alls. That is exactly it. I resemble that remark. So has Brian written non-fiction? Yeah, for sure.
he's an expert on the is it civil America? His history, American Civil War or something. History.
He's a historian, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very, very clever.
He is much cleverer than me. Oh, that's not. Wait, I'm going all that. Right, quiz time. Quiz time.
I will do this for the.
So, were you both aware that there was going to be a quiz?
No.
I have seen that there was a quiz in previous ones, and do you know what? I went hunting high and low because I do have a bell, like a proper ding bell, and I thought I'm going to be really clever, and I just can't find it.
You're gonna have to make up your. Oh, that's a whole other. We'll get to that in a second.
Anyway,
So-
sorry.
So, Louise, you have to pick a buzzer noise. Is basically what this is about.
It's the best bit. It's my favourite bit.
So,
Okay. Yeah, no.
the audience will choose who comes up with the best buzzer sound, and then when we ask the questions, you have to buzz in with your buzzer sound and answer the question, ideally correctly, but you know.
There we
I have to make up my own buzzer sound.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I need to tell you what's said.
Yes.
Okay. I know exactly what it is because it drives my family around the bend. So I have when my phone rings, it's a duck.
I love this.
And the very first time, I set it to this duck sound, which is literally whack, 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 is what it sounds like. And I'd only had it set for like about 6 weeks. And we had some friends round for a meal. And I heard this duck. And my friend heard this duck. And we actually got up to look out the window to see if there was a duck outside because I'd forgotten that I set my phone for this popping noise, which tells you how often it rings, really. So that's going to be my buzzer noise. Whack, whack.
Oh, that is excellent. Simon,
you know
how
what
are you going to top that?
I'm not, so just let her have the point. Mum knows that anything that's like organised fun, I will sort of. I mean, there's a bit of a joke at my in-laws that if they start doing organised fun, I do a vanishing trick.
Oh,
I'll go and hide in the toilet for about an hour if I need to. So I'm just going to do the ding.
Buzzer noise.
No, I'm not doing that buzzer noise. I'm just going to do the ding. There we go. That was what I was going to have.
It's basic but efficient.
Yeah, that could be my online bio. Simon Savage, basic but efficient.
We love it. We love it. Okay, so the quiz is in 2 sections. First is Women's Prize versus Booker, where I will give you an author's name and you have to say if they were nominated. That's right, yeah, nominated for the Women's Prize or the Booker Prize or both or neither. 4 options.
Wow.
So we'll start with round 1 and then I'll explain round 2. There are 5 questions. If you know the answer, buzz in.
I'm feeling quite apprehensive. And I hate organised fun, but I get really competitive.
I can't think quickly, so it's the perfect combination.
And if you do press in and get it wrong, we can pass it over because there's
Yes,
more
that
than
is another
2 options.
Sorry.
Okay, don't lose your chance, is what we're saying.
Savage
Okay,
versus savage.
first author is Monica Ali.
Bing.
Oh,
Simon.
Women's prize.
Nope.
Oh.
Louise.
well, I'm guessing it must have been the Booker. I hope. Or was it both?
Or was it neither?
But I thought Brick Lane won loads of awards. Oh.
We're all tense. We're all like sat here on the edge of our seats.
Come on, this is taking
Yeah,
too
I just-
long.
You going what, Booker?
Yeah.
It was both.
Ah.
Booker in 2003 and the Women's Prize.
Can we give them
I
a
can't
point
read
each?
Alice's handwriting.
It's 2004.
Do not be kind with us. This is how we get you.
This is what I'm like. I'm always going to just give all the points away. This is, you know.
No, come on. You've got to be
I think
savage.
it'd be brilliant if we ended up with zero apiece by the end of the round.
You won't.
All right, question number 2. Ayobami Adebayo.
Come on.
Bing.
Simon.
Both.
Ding, 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 ding.
Wow, well done.
Well done. 2017 for the Women's Prize, 2023 for the Booker Prize.
I love that I'm not the only one doing that, Simon.
And if Mum wins, I'm going to do that.
I can never get it to rain.
Oh, hang on, it doesn't do it. It's not doing it.
I don't think that's looking
Oh,
cool. That's cool.
oh dear. Simple
Sorry.
things in life. Hilary Mantel.
Anyway, I'll give you a point.
Hilary
Oh,
Mantel.
Oh.
Oh,
Hilary.
Hilary Mantel.
Do you know-
whack. Both.
Yes, that was right. Yeah,
Oh, that's the nicest one.
yeah, that's a good one.
Did you deliberately sit back there, Simon, to allow me to answer?
No, I forgot. I'm not going to say I forgot who Hilary Mantel was. I forgot the name, and then I was like, hang on a minute, I've got lost. I was too excited about all of that.
Yeah, it's my fault. I distracted you with the emojis and
That one. That's my favourite.
And you can get balloons. You know, you can get balloons, can't you?
Oh yeah, look at that.
I can do these at my work meetings, and it really throws everyone off. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right.
Right.
Well done, Mum.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Are we on question 4 now? I think.
Yep.
Oh
We're
yeah.
going to go for Penelope Lively.
Oh, Bing.
Oh, Simon.
I'm going to say Booker.
Ding, ding, ding.
That is very distracting.
What was that?
That is quite distracting. And if you all watch my latest vlog, there's a bit of a moment like that in it, but it's not me or Chris, it's somebody on the telly. Anyway. When you know your audience, you know your audience.
Oh, I have no words. I have no words.
So funny. I love that you're doing that as well, honestly. I swear it's not just me.
Okay, next author. So that I can try and get some blush away. Right, Laylee Paul.
Oh, Bing. Oh,
Oh, Louise.
Go for it, Louise.
The Women's Prize. Oh,
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah,
I did hesitate for a moment because I remembered the B book then and thought, was that actually
which
on
was
the...
also Women's Prize. Yeah,
Right.
so 15 and 23. Good work.
We're level
Right,
pegging,
what-
aren't we? At the moment.
We
I
are.
don't know who's on scores.
We both are. Me and Alice are both doing it.
So I make it 2-2 at the end of round 1.
Me too.
Oh, what? Because the first one, no one got right. That's fine. Okay, so all to play for in round 2. And round 2 is long-listed, shortlisted, or never. So were these authors long-listed, shortlisted, or am I making it up?
Just for the women's or for both?
Just for the women's.
Just women's prize. This is back to women's prize again.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's tricky as well, because you could think they were long-listed or know they were long-listed, but might forget if they were shortlisted or not.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hard.
Okay, let's start with Alice Sebold. That's the face of what book is that?
No,
Whack, whack. You've got to make your noise. I'm going to be Simon. I'm really not sure about this at all, but I'm going to guess shortlist.
No.
Oh.
Simon.
I want to say never.
Also, no. It was long-listed. Long-listed. Well, 2003, The Lovely Bones.
That's it. I was trying to remember the name of the book.
Oh, yeah, of course. The Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
Isn't that very controversial now? Hasn't Alice Sebold been?
Yeah, I think.
Has she's been what?
I think she's been cancelled, hasn't she?
Has she?
Has she?
I
We
don't know.
this stuff.
I can't always keep up.
We're not onto it, that we don't know.
I can't. There's lots
Anyway,
of cancelled authors out there. But I read that one a long time ago, so I don't need to read it again, so that's fine.
I can't believe it's long-listed. That's really interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, back in the day. Anna Burns is our next one.
Oh. Bing.
Simon.
I'm going to say long-listed.
Louise?
Shortlisted.
Correct.
Oh,
I gave you that, Louise Savage. I gave you that.
I can't deny it.
Well, I do just want to point out a small flaw in the game, which is that if you have been shortlisted, you have been longlisted.
Should we give you half a point for that, Simon? Half a point?
No, honestly. Let the retired lady have it.
Oh dear. So yeah, Anna Burns was shortlisted in 2002 and 2019 apparently.
Oh.
Don't ask me what books because Alice didn't write that down.
I feel like one like a violin on it or something.
I can't remember. I'm sure
I've read that. Just to point out is because that's actually a cello.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know my fake musical.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
I thought you were putting deodorant on.
The most important one is air guitar, but I can't do that right either.
Oh, Milkman. I've just seen Julie's.
No Bones was the name of her other book.
Hang on. Oh, she won, didn't she? Then with Milkman. Did Milkman win? No.
That was the Booker it won.
It won something, yeah. I think
it won the Booker, and I'm sure you were on telly that year, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
I wanted Essie Edgington to win.
Oh.
But it didn't. Yes, I was. That was, yeah. Very, very professional.
Okay, next author is Esther Freud.
Oh, now.
Whack whack. I'm gonna go never.
Oh. Over to Simon.
Long listed. Was that with Hideous?
1998 and 2001.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in the day, I was still at primary school then, so.
What year was that?
1998.
Oh, 1998. I don't know what I was doing in 1998.
Oh dear. Okay, next author, Geraldine Brooks.
Oh,
Ding.
Simon.
I'm going to say, oh, sugar, I don't know if I'm right, actually. Shortlisted.
Nope. Louise?
well listed.
Correct. In 2016.
Yeah.
Okay, how many have I done?
Who's made it right?
4.
4. So one more to go. And we're going to go for Helen Fielding.
Oh, I was trying to work out what she'd written, but now I don't.
Whack whack.
Oh,
Too slow on your muzzle there, Simon. Louise.
Never.
Never is correct. Oh dear.
Because also she got the best noise.
I don't think we even need to ask the audience.
If they answer Simon, they're lying. Like, sorry.
This is what we need, though, Charlie. That was the savageness that I told you we need.
Sorry.
Oh, Kieran's bobbed in. Hi, Kieran.
Hi.
Oh dear. Okay, what were the scores on the doors then, ladies?
So Simon had 3 points, Louise 5.
Smashed it, Louise.
Well, that's done wonders for my confidence.
Quite right.
That extra decade bit helped. That extra decade and a bit of knowledge, that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not being sore.
It will be afterwards. I won't do the last of it.
Oh dear. So I'm aware that we've been on for an hour, so just one more question and then we'll let everyone go to bed, because I don't know, maybe you two are night owls, but me, Alice and Charlie get to 9 o'clock and then we start getting cranky. So what are you currently reading from the long list, and what is up next for you both?
Oh, Mum, you go first.
Well, I, as I've already said, I'm halfway through this, but I also this morning started to listen to, what's it called? Because I know that the chances are I'm not going to physically read the fiction long list. I thought I might actually listen to some, and it's the one with the cover that you didn't like, Simon.
Oh, Nightbloom.
No, something to do with the sun.
Oh yeah, the one that
Trace of Sun.
Yeah.
What was the title?
Sun.
That's it. And actually, I'm quite hooked in. The voice is good. Not
one of the narrators is from, yeah. One of the narrators is like.
Sorry.
No, you say. I'm not trying. I don't want to interrupt you. I'll say.
Sorry.
Come on, Charlie, be savage. Just say, Louise, I've got something to say.
No, I just wanted to say, it's the guy. One of the narrators is an actor from Death in Paradise. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So what I meant though was the voice of the characters, like the narrative is it's engaging. I am actually quite intrigued, although it doesn't feel particularly like a new story. Do you know what I mean? I think I've probably read things on a similar theme, but it's a bit too early to say. But I have been drawn in. I like the characters. Yeah.
I think it does get more interesting as you go with that one as well.
Right.
It gets darker as well.
Have you read really good things about that one? Really good things about that. And that one just makes me laugh though, because when Lena did her unboxing, I just remember her describing the cover as a really shit postcard, and that made me howl with laughter. That's best. But I do feel that's something where it is bad, but we do judge books by the cover. Like The Maiden, for me, I think probably it'll be one of those books that I really love, because I love it where you read a book about a character that's up for murder and may or may not have done it, and you have to find it. And that's what I mentioned Sarah Collins earlier. She wrote the Franny Langton book. And that was that whole thing. And I think when that's done well, that's amazing. But that cover just really put me off. And yeah, A Trace of Sun. And also, I've read stuff by that publisher before, and there's been spelling mistakes. Although there was a spelling mistake in the hardback of that I spotted.
Yes, there is a version I've got. Well, mind you, I've got a proof, I think. So
I think it was explanatory or something. I was like, that's not spelled like that. Anyway, oh, it's interesting that you're doing. I can't do fiction on audio. Just can't do it.
I quite like it. I'm much better with fiction than I would be with non-fiction.
Oh no, non-fiction, I'm fine. It's like listening to the radio and it really goes in. But with fiction, if it's longer than an episode of The Archers, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
What, the long chapters or the actual long book?
I just like, as soon as I've got to like 15 minutes of audio, I've realised that I've started to think about something else. And so I have to then go backwards. And I'm like, whereas for some reason with non-fiction, it's like listening to Radio 4, but with sometimes more exciting voices. So like, it's like, no offense to Radio 4, but it's that thing where it's like, anyway, that was the tangent. I'm between books, so I haven't decided which my next women's prize book is going to be. I'm just looking. I think.
What are you most drawn to?
Well, I'm most drawn to only because I've got. Oh gosh. Oh. Here we go. I've got the imported edition of this, and I think it's the most beautiful cover that I've seen. Like the UK one is rubbish, whereas this is beautiful. But I'm actually not a massive fan of her writing, so that will be a cover pick for the. Oh, there's a Carmel in it.
There's 2 Carmels on the long list.
Wow.
But I kind of feel like this one maybe is the one that I want to go for next, just because it's like the least about.
Ange liked that one. Our friend Ange liked it. So
I'm intrigued for that. So yeah, well, I don't know. This one, I know everyone loves it, but I'm really nervous about it.
So good.
How many different books can Simon hold up in one video?
All of the books.
How many ways can he hedge his bets? Although I really want to read that.
It's so good.
I think I might save that towards the end because I don't think I've heard anyone read this who hasn't absolutely loved it. Not that I'm swayed by other people.
But you are a little bit.
I think you can't help it. We were saying the other day, weren't we, Mum? Like, we purposely don't talk before a shortlist because we don't want to sway the other one. It's like a reveal as to where we're at. And even though actually it's quite interesting when you start to discuss them after shortlist before winner, I have had some books where I've talked to Mum about it and been like, oh, actually, that one's gone up a little bit because of the conversation we had. And that's the lovely thing about books.
Have you ever really disagreed on one? Like really?
Yes.
I think probably our biggest, well, I don't know what you feel, Simon, but I think our biggest bone of contention is the Madeline Miller book, isn't it?
No, yes, but that wasn't, I'm thinking in our reading them together history.
Right, okay.
And also, can I just tell the Madeline Miller story because it is quite funny? I used to do a podcast called The Readers, and we would have a chat. We had a book club once a quarter, I think, and we would have a chat about the book, me and Gav, who I used to host it with before Thomas, and then we'd have the author on, and then we'd have a special guest on. So we managed to get Madeline Miller to talk about the Song of Achilles, and I was like, oh, Mum, will you do it? Because you're a classicist, this will be really exciting. So me and Gav talked about it, interviewed Madeline Miller, and said, Mum, did you like it? No, I absolutely did not. And I was like, oh, no. But yeah, so that was mildly awkward, but you did like Circe, which is fine.
I loved Circe, yeah.
But no, I was thinking actually the book that I think we've had the biggest disagreement on is Piranesi.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the time that we've read it is in Mum loved it.
I did.
I really didn't, to the point where I had to interview the winner for Sky. So I pushed Mum in and said, could you do it, please? Because I don't have enough of the right questions. I feel a bit false. And she did, and Mum did an amazing job. It was 8 minutes.
I was so grateful for that experience because it was just after she'd won, and she wasn't doing many interviews because she's not very well, really. And yeah, I was just literally perched on the edge of a chair interviewing her within minutes of her winning, and it's one of the highlights of my reading life, I think. It was special. She's absolutely lovely as well. Yeah,
she was lovely, and I felt a bit bad because but I just didn't. I don't know. I felt like if you'd read fantasy, it wasn't really anything new to anybody. That book.
Thank you.
Jem hates that
I
book.
detested that book.
You know, I wouldn't go as far as to hate it or detest it. Like, I enjoyed it, and it gave me Minotaur vibes, which I quite like. But for me, I was just like, I didn't understand it winning. I didn't get that.
It had a Doctor Who reference in it, so I was sold for that.
I've just seen the new trailer for the new series. I'm very excited for that.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I think with that, we will just quickly mention that the next Women's Prize, I'll put the Women's Prize for non-fiction, but it's not that at all. It's just a Women's Prize plod, is on 7th of April. That is Sunday on Charlie's channel at 3 o'clock with the fabulous Ben from Ben Reads Good and Jennifer from Jennifer Loves Books, both of whom have been in the comments today. So hello to both of you. And I would like to say a massive thank you to Simon and Louise for joining us and talking all things Women's Prize.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for asking.
It's been really lovely.
Oh, thank you. And I know that all our little plodders in the comments have enjoyed hearing your thoughts. So thank you very much.
Also, hopefully we'll see some of you at Women's Prize live.
Well, you will.
Oh, yeah.
We will.
Yeah.
All three of
Are you
us.
going again this year? Are you,
We are. I might be doing an event.
Oh,
That's what I'm
exciting.
allowed to say right now, because that's all I actually know. But I will definitely be there. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it was such a good fun day last year.
so the weather was perfect as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Also, I just think I want to just say, like, a huge thank you to the Women's Prize team for what they've created, because when you go there, people genuinely love this prize so much, even if you don't always agree with the long list or you don't always agree with the winner or blah, 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 blah. But there's so much love for it. And I think the prize, when you get to like Women's Prize Live, it's like that in a, I was going to say in a field. It's not, it's a very posh park in the middle of London. But it's the loveliest feeling. And again, that's not spawn or an ad or anything. That's just genuinely, you know, and they've made it such a joy for me and Mum to do. And I will say, like, I think it has done wonders for our relationship. Not that our relationship was down in the bin, but like, just like, you know what I mean? I think the fact that me and Mum have got to do this and we've got to have all these conversations with lovely people like you three, I think that's a really magical thing. And I think it shows the power of books and prizes when they're run by brilliant women.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, so Women's Prize is therapy is what you're talking about. No, I'm joking. No, I think it is. It's a real force for good. Definitely.
It is. And it's great that so many people get behind it. And, you know, we see it on our channels, I think, all through the Women's Prize season. So it is lovely to be a part of it.
Yeah. And thank you for what you're doing, because I think it's lovely what you're doing with the Women's Prize Plodalong. I think it's great.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry.
We just plodded along.
That was my new cat meeting my other cat. That was
Oh.
sweet.
Oh no.
So I may have to go shortly.
That's fine. Let's end the live now. And so we'll say thank you very much to everyone who's viewed, and we will see you on Sunday.